101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest, empowering the digital frontier of Guardians of Cyber. She's the founder of Cardinal Spy, no other than Miss Michelle Novack.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Michelle. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. So, beyond my role as a business owner, I'm the founder of Cardinal Bites. I also am a part-time hustler and travel agency. My journey has been one of resilience, growth, empowerment.
Yes.
Yeah,
Miss Michelle Novak, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And let's talk about building resilience. What are the pivotal personal or professional challenges that the first demanded you develop significant resilience, and how did you initially respond?
I think one of the challenges in my life was as a single mother in the early stages of my career. I had to adapt very early and balance right work to life. And I'm driven by a profound desire to empower others. I've always been that way, and helping them break through barriers and embrace their full potential. um, but for me, I think it was just about seeking how to kind of get through it, right, Daniel, and
Yes.
overcoming my own fear of what I can actually accomplish for myself.
Well, Miss Michelle, congratulations. You did it. You did it. How has your personal definition of resilience evolved from facing those early challenges to where you are today?
I think about my evolution has been driven by my commitment to growth and a refusal to settle, right, and a passion for helping and thriving. Each phase of my journey, whether it's been in hospitality, finance, cybersecurity, as an authorship, has been about learning and adapting and stepping into new challenges with a purpose. And I think that's very important. You know, the road is paved with challenges, they're paved with victories, setbacks, and then breakthroughs. But we all have to find that inner strength to thrive and keep going.
To thrive and keep going. I like that, Miss Michelle. And where a specific moment or realization where you decided to actively build resilience rather than just endure hardship.
I think it was when I was launching my business, right?
Yeah.
I was working full time, 30 years in the industry, right? Um, and I just got tired of working for someone else. And, I was wiped out. When you work in corporate, everybody says it's a 40-hour work week, but in reality, it's 60, 70, right? Depending on
Yes.
the level um, of your role. And I just got that realization that said, you know what? I could do this for myself. If I'm going to put in 70, 80 hours a week, why not do it for me? And that's kind of where I started, right? That commitment to myself to foster trust, collaboration, and transform um, in myself and do it, right? Get rid of the procrastination and then just follow my dream, right? And I think that was the pivotal point for me when I kind of just woke up one day and said, I can't do this anymore.
And again, congratulations, Miss Michelle. We proud of you. We salute you of being you. What were the most crucial coping mechanisms, mindsets, or support systems you relied on during your toughest times?
Daniel, that's a great question. When I wrote my book, shifting your mindset to 21 days of abundance. It was really about a personal journey that I went on, specifically about what you're talking about now, right? I had to dig in deep. I had to find out who I was, understand what was holding me back, overcome those challenges. And for me, it was about living my best life, right? Meaning owning my choices, embracing the resilience, and aligning my actions with my values. And that was difficult, right? It's about removing the negativity, creating a life where you can fully live authentically, and with a sense of purpose every single day. And it's not an easy thing to do. We say it's easy, right? But it's really psychological in all senses, right? Neurologically, our behaviors are built in subconsciously. And until you're able to break through those barriers and overcome that, you can't free yourself to get to the next level of your life and your journey.
Indeed, totally agree with you, Miss Michelle. And let's say, how do you see the core tenets of personal resilience, like adaptability, perseverance, or emotional regulation, directly translating into effective cybersecurity practices?
Yeah, so, when I founded Cardinal Bites, I think, resilience as a business owner, right? And that was
Yes,
another book that I kind of wrote, Overcoming Your Fears as an Entrepreneurship. It is about having a foundation, right? It's not about really building a business. It's about more so how do you survive building that business, right?
yes,
You're going to go through a personal transformation like you've never done before, right? You're going to doubt yourself. There's going to be misconceptions. You're going to trust people's advice that you probably should have never taken, right? You got to trust your decision. You got to trust being a game changer. And that's what that book is all about, right? You got to keep going, right? Most of the successful people in the world have failed, and it's okay to fail. But I think more so as you become successful, you also fear that, right? Because it's a realization. I remember waking up and saying to myself, "Oh my God, I am an owner of a business." And with that comes a lot of responsibility, right? Uh,
true.
as you're going through those motions, those daily day to days, and you're kind of completing your priorities, your task list, the five pillars I always say of my life and my business is, start off with understanding what needs to get done, trusting yourself to do that, and making those top decisions that are going to be impactful not only for your business but for others, and that's critical.
Critical indeed, Miss Michelle. So, what specifically attracted you to cybersecurity, especially considering your background wasn't traditional tech?
Yeah, well, I've always had a background in compliance, right? That's always been my passion, whether it was in HR, whether it was in finance or another industry that I was working in. Compliance is always intrigued me, the fraud aspect of it, and preventing that. So a couple of years ago, I want to say 10, at least 10 years ago, when I was working for one of the larger banks, I saw the writing on the wall. Everything was going into, computers, right? There was a transformation happening out there. Everything was going digital. And that digital format, I knew eventually um, my job was not safe, right? And I said, what do I need to do? I was, I think what, late 40s, late 40s, I want to say. And I went back to school. I went back to school, and I've always liked doing, web designing and, things like that. I've done a few websites for myself during the time, but I went and I became a full stack web developer. And through that learning, I learned about cybersecurity, and then I just fell in love with it, right? But there's so many aspects to cybersecurity that people don't understand. You can go down rabbit holes for days and days,
Yes.
learning and learning because it's constantly evolving. But that's what started me, right? And I was lucky enough to the company I was working for at that time had its own tech university, and they gave me the opportunity to teach developers on how to write code correctly, and that's where it started for me.
And congratulations, Miss Michelle. You did it. You did it. Overcoming the fear of entrepreneur and solopreneurship. Can you tell us about this book of yours?
Yeah, it really encourages entrepreneurs to break through that fear, embrace the transformation, and become impactful leaders, right? I can't say that more than enough. You have to sit down, you have to identify how to plan, develop, right? You have to plan. You, if you're an introvert, you have to plan on how are you going to overcome networking, building your business, marketing. It's about so many different things, and in that book, it gives you specific right steps to do that. Right, things that you can really challenge yourself to do and follow to try to help you through that. It's not about. It's really not about anything else but really kind of challenging the battleground of your mind, if I can say that over and over again. Um, and I always ask, I think in my book it says, why do brilliant ideas die in the silence of some day, right?
Right.
Embrace being a game changer. What if what if the secret of launching your dream isn't about more information? What if it's about confronting those hidden fears that hold you captive, right? And I think that's where it's got to start, the raw explanation of the mind's battleground. And the startling truths is to really unlock that as a game changer within. And I think that's what that book was about for me. And I wanted to share that journey with others, right? It's a map to the uncharted territory of your potential, right? And living your best life yet. And
Yes.
that's my motto for everything. Live your best life yet. And it's hard.
Well, likewise, Miss Michelle, I want that motto in your life. Cybersecurity is vast. How did you identify the specific areas within the field that resonated most with your skills and interests?
So, as I mentioned, compliance was the key, right? So, in different elements of cybersecurity, there's risk, there's oversight, there's so many different elements to the security posture. But I like diving in. I like to understand what's broken in a business because that's just the way my mind works, and then helping build, right? That infrastructure to fix it, whether it be written policy and procedures, whether it be conducting a risk assessment and identifying those gaps. Also, kind of just driving that industry. And that's kind of really where it started. And that's why I'm in what I'm doing because I think small business owners, I think the biggest challenge for them is they don't have the resources um, and they don't understand what cybersecurity really is. There's a large misconception out there, right? And I think that's not only part of my journey for doing this is also educating, and I think that's why I do what I do because I want to educate as well on what the risks are and share that.
And thank you for sharing to the world, Miss Michelle. Shifting your mindset to abundance in 20 days or 21 days. Can you tell us this book of yours?
Yeah, well, shifting your mindset, that again was a personal journey. I had to really kind of dig deep in this book. It shares a lot of personal factors of things that I've gone through since a kid. But really, the element of this is people understanding that your brain is a massive computer. And the way we are today is how you were brought up, right? You identify with the two main role models, if you've had to, or other role models in your life as a child, and you take on those behaviors in yourself. And it's really breaking free from that and understanding that your parents um, influence you, or your grandparents, or anybody else who's raised you influence who you become. And you have to identify being your own person. And that's what people struggle with. You have to break free of all the nonsense in your head, Right? And you have to understand that what you tell yourself and what you say to yourself matters every day, right? If I
Yes.
tell myself, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to wake up tired. If I tell myself, you know what, today's going to be a fabulous day, and you know what, I'm going to accomplish this today, you're going to do it. And it's training your brain to do that. And that's what this book is about. But also looking yourself in the mirror, because part of this is really a challenge, right? This book is about somebody who is not afraid to look at themselves in a mirror and say, I don't like what I see, and crying about it and being okay and embracing yourself. And that's what that book is about, right? And if you have the courage enough to do that, then read that book. That's what I'm going to tell people.
Yes, indeed. Read it, people. And Miss Michelle, I always say to myself early in the morning, I'm the head, not the tail. I'm a victor, not a victim. And I'll be mighty on the land. And it's really empower me the whole day. And Miss Michelle,
I
as a
love it.
yes, and a founder of Cardinals White and the author of many books, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Yeah. So my short-term goals, I'm going to tell you, is probably um, continuing to do my work in the community and driving education for small businesses. Right, that's my short term. I mentor also young women who want to break into cybersecurity, so I'm going to continue to do that. Right, um, and my long term goal is continuing to build my business and leaving a legacy. Right, I want to continue to drive that leadership in others and work with a lot of different business owners so they can also give back to the community, because I think that's the key, right? My company in itself will continue to network, build, be authentic, offering the value, right, and diverse perspectives of what we do. But that's really kind of where I want to go, right? I think cybersecurity will become more proactive and AI driven with advancements in machine learning, enabling a real time threat, and responses. And for me, that's kind of what I'm focused on, right? Shifting towards the predictive analytics, automation, zero trust architects to counter increasingly those sophisticated cyber attacks. So that's kind of where I'm going. And then quantum computing will play a pivotal role in that. But there's a challenge and an opportunity driving, the need for quantum resistant encryption, while opening the doors for faster and more efficient data processing. So I think that for me is where my business will go per se, and focus on those things to try to help small businesses protect themselves against those types of threats in the future.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Michelle, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be a founder or CEO of their own company as well as an author?
I'm going to say own your own choices, embrace resilience, and live with a purpose. That is my advice. And that's what I share with everybody. And live your best life. You only get one life. Don't waste it. Right? Don't waste it. It's easy to get caught up again in the battleground of your mind. We all have challenges. We all have personal things that impact us. But it's up to you. You have a choice every day on how you react to those things. And I think keeping that in the back of your mind is critical in order to move forward. You can't change yesterday. You can never change yesterday. You can only do what's right here, right now.
Miss Michelle, very well said and beautifully articulated. Thank you for your advice. I hope people are listening or watching right now will empower and follow your advice. How has your experience overcoming significant adversity shaped how you perceive threats, assess risks, and approach incidents response differently than peers with different backgrounds?
You know, I will say this. my perspective, right? Our perception is critical. We all look, like I said, we're predisposed to what we know, and we do bring that into those challenges. But I think by stepping back and listening and understanding people and understanding what triggers them makes me different, right? Using the neurological factors, right? Getting rid of, the burn, if you would, um, and really looking at risk from a different perspective, not only about what needs to be done, but why those people who are running these companies don't find it critical or don't see it as something so important that they can make it matter, right? And I think that's where my perception comes in, right? From my perspective, we're different because we tailor those risk assessments and we tailor that information to that client. But psychologically understanding that client, I think, is critical, right? Because everybody has different triggers, as I mentioned, and without that, you can't really understand what the root of their pain points are and how to help them with those pain points unless you do that. And I hope I answered your question.
Yes, indeed, you answered them, Miss Michelle. Truly empowering. And traveling solo, finding oceanside destinations on a budget. Can you tell us about this book?
Yeah, so listen, I've always loved to travel. I do own a side hustle as a travel agent and a travel agency. But I did it more so because I just, the world is like amazing, right? And whether you're taking a quick trip into the woods or you're going 3,000 miles away across the world, you're going to find a place where your soul can connect. And I think that's why we travel, right? You
Yes.
want to go away to get rid of the everyday things that are holding you down, right? And that was that for me. I wrote a series of books, right? And I continue to write them. But this was personal, right? These books are more, again, things that you can do while you're traveling solo to find your soul and reach inside and connect with yourself. And that's what that series is about. Each book has different perspectives and things that I've done on my traveling journeys, and I wanted to share it. And that's what those books are about, right? Whether you're, at the ocean, and like I said, you can be on top of a mountain. And I think, again, people who explore and do this full time, I envy those people. That would probably be my life goal,
Yeah.
to travel the world and just get lost in the civilization and the cultures, and and watch people and interact. I mean, that's what it gives you when you do that.
Yes, must be awesome, priceless. And Miss Michelle, what would be your recommended book that influence your journey?
So that influenced my journey. I'm going to say Diana Nyad, Find Your Way.
And can you tell us about this?
Listen, she is the first woman who challenged herself, right, to swim from
Wow.
Florida to Cuba. And she failed many times and she struggled, but she was later in her age too. And I'll never forget listening to her TED talk. And it was like a profound moment. And that is my motto, right? Find a way. I tell everybody, people that work for me, people that work with me, I always tell them, you know what, find a way, right?
Yes.
Every problem is the solution. So find a way. Don't give up. And her book inspired me in many, many ways. And her TED talk inspires me. And I still listen to it. And I've had my team listen to it, right? Because I think it's essential that it's about building that resilience within. When you're talking swimming from Miami to Cuba in those waters, shark infested, you you got to find a way to live, right? And that
Totally.
and that's really kind of why I love that book, and really appreciate her as an individual and author.
Thank you for your recommendation, Miss Michelle, and truly, truly empowering book. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and of course my food 101 in its fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, law 101 and mental health 101. My love letters in third season, and movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. Miss Michelle, looking ahead, how do you continue to cultivate resilience personally, and how do you see resilience becoming even more critical for individuals and organizations in the evolving cybersecurity landscape?
Listen, I think it's more critical because today's world, everybody has to wear so many hats
Yes.
and has to juggle so many things. You know, my generation's a lot different than the younger generation, right? And we all are aiming for the same thing. And I think it's so critical now, more so than ever, to really kind of embrace, take time for yourself. It's so important to take time every day for yourself and stop. Shut off the phone, shut off the TV, lock yourself in a doorway from the kids, even if it's for 10 minutes, right? Go walk your dog, relax. People don't know how to do that. And that's the critical key to building resilience, shutting down for yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of others, right? And if you don't love yourself, you can't love others. And I think that's critical right now, right? And, I see people burnt out. And it's very sad. And, I think, connect with your family. I always say this, connect with your family and your families first and have strong faith. You have to do that. You have to have faith. Whatever you follow, whatever you do, have faith that things will be okay. Again, manifest it. It's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. You have your mantra in the morning. I have my mantras in the morning, and I do them throughout the day, right? And I think that's critical.
That's critical indeed. Love yourself, people, and believe it. Ms. Michelle Novack, thank you so much for being part on Book 101 review. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy as well as your books and your business itself?
Absolutely. You know, For everybody listening today, I'm offering a bonus, a 30-minute meeting with me to explore your challenges. You can message me on LinkedIn, right? I say, come meet me. Let's have a conversation, right? Let's overcome those fears. Let's build your resilience together. That's what I want to leave off with today.
Yes, people, support Miss Michelle Novak because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books to come, more and more empowering coaching to come. So, Miss Michelle, thank you so much for your time.
I want to say thank you, Daniel. And also, again, my name is Michelle Novack, and I appreciate you all listening today. Have a great day and make it impactful. Live your best life.
Be the best of your life. Yes, people, thank you so much, and more to come, people. See you soon.